manage issues with them. So again, my role today is to bring to this discussion is that voice of the average American consumer. And so before I kind of get to one of my first premises that I want to throw out for you this morning, because I too was a former journalist and a researcher, I do want to ask a question. How many of you in this room sell directly to the public? Anybody in here? Anybody sell directly to the public? So very few, maybe 20% or less, 10%. So that's very interesting, because one of the premises that I want to throw out this morning for you to think about and for us to discuss is that today, no matter who you are, your industry, or who your direct client is, your direct customer, who you sell to, you need to see yourself as a public-facing, a consumer-facing business. And the reason for that, there's I think, 3 or 4 things that have come together in the past decade or so that have created sort of a perfect storm, I think, for a lot of businesses, but perhaps for no industry more than agriculture. So some of those things that have come together you obviously know already about, but forgive me if I retrace them. We know, right, that there has been a technological revolution that has completely given consumers all over the world, no matter how rural, no matter how urban, the tools to capture pictures, to write, and to communicate with other people in the blink of an eye, with the click of a mouse. And it really has empowered consumers to find information about companies, people, industries, to capture images about it, to share their opinions, and to find willing audiences out there. Believe it or not, it was just 3 years ago. Do you all remember the Time cover when it was the person of the year was a computer with a mirror on it? And it was to look in the mirror, right, and say the new person of the year is you? That was just 3 years ago last month. But it is a really important foundation to remember for all of us that are in business, that we do really have to remember today that the consumer, the average American public, is a very powerful constituency that can affect the success of your business. So then combine that with some other things that are going on that are very critical to your industry. Obviously, the environmental movement, for the first time, has truly gone mainstream. Not necessarily actions, but attitudes, and we've been studying it, by the way, at my company since the early 1970s, so it's going on 40 years, that we can see that for the first time the environmental movement has really gone mainstream, where the majority of people believe in these issues, care about these issues, etc. So that's number 2. So we have technology, we have a mainstream environmental movement. We also have another huge and important consumer trend, which is Americans' focus on health and wellness through diet and lifestyle choices. Right, so they're very focused on food and everything that they put into their bodies and the quality of it, etc. And then fourthly, obviously, there's a lot of tension and kind of a low-grade continuing chronic skepticism about the motivations of business, particularly big business and large institutions, because of everything that's gone on in the world. So all of those things come together to say that everybody, and again, this is my premise, and we can discuss it, even argue about it, and disagree with me if you want, that every business person today, and understand that you are business people, every business person, no matter your industry, needs to see themselves as a consumer-facing business. So now I'm going to give you a little background, some facts that we see in our data that hopefully you might find interesting or useful. One of which is, what do people today, the American public, again, if I'm the voice of the consumer, what do they think sustainability is? What does it mean to them? Well, for the average American consumer, and again, I don't mean highly educated people who pay a lot of attention to these issues, but for the most people, the whole environmentalism, the green movement, sustainability, and even, believe it or not, the idea of corporate social responsibility that's out there, it's all kind of the same thing for them. They don't yet have a truly sophisticated and nuanced understanding of what sustainability is, although it kind of fits in what their general definition is. And we know this from looking at their data, which is, and the way they respond to things. So it's, recycling, taking care of the environment, probably being good with resources, and possibly eating organics, locally grown food. That is about the gist of their understanding. And if they're going to understand something about agriculture, it's using resources well, but that's probably about the depth of their understanding, which is important when you're communicating with consumers so that they understand your issues, that you begin with understanding where they're coming from and what they do and don't know yet.